Last week I made a video on Caitlin Clark and the comments that were said on The View, particularly from Sunny Hostin, about how the reason people are watching the WNBA is because of racism, because obviously white people are racist and they don't care about the black women in the WNBA. But now that they have their white savior in the NBA and the WNBA, now everybody's gonna watch the WNBA. And that it's because of pretty privilege, and that it's because she's tall, there's tall privilege, and all this stupid that made absolutely no sense. I'll play some of what Sunny Hostin said on the show last week for anyone who didn't see it.
I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege. There is a thing called white privilege. There is a thing called tall privilege. And we have to acknowledge that. And so the part of it is about race, because if you think about the Brittany Griners of the world, you know, why did she have to go to play in Russia?
Because they wouldn't pay her.
Because they wouldn't pay her.
Because they wouldn't pay, not because she was black, but because they didn't believe in the WNBA.
This is part of my point. So now, you know, Caitlin Clark is bringing this money, these sponsorships, we hope, into the league, and other players will benefit from it. But I do think that she is more relatable to more people because she's white, because she's attractive. And unfortunately, there still is that stigma of against the LGBTQ plus community. 70% of the WNBA is black. A third of the players are in the LGBTQ plus community.
Now this week we're back to talk about Caitlin Clark because of another situation that I would say is due to the racism, but not the racism in the way that you would think about it. It's the racism against this girl, because let's be honest, if you flip everything that's going on to Caitlin Clark right now, if you flip it and you changed it and the races were reversed, it would be a white girl doing this to a black girl, what would the entire United States be crying about? About racism, or at least the black community would be crying about racism. A couple days ago, this player named Kennedy Carter, which I have never heard of because I don't watch the WNBA. I mean, nobody does. Now they're getting viewership, but it's still not comparable to any other major male sports. Got mad at Caitlin Clark and decided to cheap shot her. Now, a lot of people are calling this assault. You know, they're calling it all kinds of like weird things, which I don't agree with. This is obviously like nasty work, but it's just like a nasty foul in the game. It wasn't much deeper than what it is. But basically, after Kennedy scored and Clark was waiting to inbound the ball, Kennedy hip checked her real hard.
Mabry doubled off to Carter. Her jumper is good. Kennedy Carter now with 12 points off the bench between Carter and Clark. I mean, that's clearly a foul, which was called. The question is, will they call it unnecessary? Kennedy Carter, I think.
We saw the play in the third quarter where Carter kind of decked you. How do you respond to that and stay within yourself?
I feel like I'm just at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Like, you know, just let them hit you, be what it is. Don't let it get inside your head. And know it's coming. I think at this point, like, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game. It is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
She turned to you a little bit after the Fever score.
I didn't answer no Caitlin Clark questions.
Did she say anything to you?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I mean, this is obvious hate. They hate the girl because she's bringing so much attention to the WNBA, attention that they weren't getting before Caitlin Clark came onto the scene. Now, people talk about that the rookies are always getting roughed up in their rookie years, which I think is asinine. Why would you be roughing up the rookies? Like, yeah, you're going to play tough, but you play at the same level. You don't treat the rookies like shit just because they're rookies. That makes no sense. I don't think I've ever heard of any other sport where they do that to the rookies. But I could be wrong. But back to the point I was making. They're simply doing this out of jealousy and racism. It's pure racism, because if this had been a black girl who was getting this much attention, I don't think this would be happening. And if you notice in that video, another person who says she doesn't hate Caitlin Clark, she has nothing against Caitlin Clark, which is Angel Reese, gets up and starts cheering because of this hip check. Now, if that's not hating somebody, then I don't know what is, because she was actively happy about the fact that Caitlin Clark got hip checked. You know what the crazy thing about that is? Where's her team? Like, her team didn't care. That's kind of fucked to me in a sense that you get hip checked like that and your team doesn't rush to your help, her teammate just casually walks to her and just helps her up, but nobody got on the court and started doing something crazy for that. Because again, it's all mostly black girls on both teams, and I think that they are actually jealous of this girl because of the attention that she's bringing to the league. Because again, let's flip the races. Let's say it's a majority white league, and you got this phenom black female that comes onto the scene and is bringing in more viewers, is bringing in more money, is bringing in everything into the league, and they did this to her. What would people say it is? Simply hatred, simply racism because she's black. That's what the conversation would be. It's funny how these people never think about the other way. Like, what if you substitute it for this? Like, say something crazy about white people, and then before you say it, think about it, substitute the race, change it to black people or to any other race. It doesn't matter because you're only allowed to be racist to white people, but just swap it out for any other race. Doesn't have to be black, and see how it sounds. If it sounds racist and crazy to you, then it probably is racist and crazy. And in that clip, I don't know if you guys noticed, if you look at that clip right there, you can clearly see that Kennedy Carter, as she's walking over to Caitlin Clark to hip check her, she yells, "Yo, bitch." So again, this is just hate. This is animus. It's simply bad. It's simply bad for the sport. It doesn't look good on the women when they're out there playing like they're petty. And I think that Stephen A made a good point on First Take about this whole situation.
Monica, you're absolutely right. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big story. But it's a big story because it involved Caitlin Clark. And we have to accept that. And it's almost like there's this resistance to acknowledging Caitlin Clark and the impact that she has had and is having. The WNBA right now is at a tipping point. You have a young lady in Caitlin Clark that generated 18 million viewers for the national title game against South Carolina. 14 million, if I remember correctly. If I'm wrong about that, Janae and Eminem, please let me know. I don't think I am. I think it was 14 million for the semifinals, 18 million for the national championship game, 12 million for the Elite 8 game. These are unprecedented ratings. And then I pointed out yesterday about the WNBA draft, 2.446 million. That was a record, and how the doubleheader to open the season was the best ratings they had in 2 decades, and all of this other stuff. Why does that matter? So I go back to my numbers, y'all. You know, last year the Bloomberg News reported, Bloomberg News report found that the WNBA was projected to make between 180 to 200 million in revenue. Juxtapose that to the NBA. They're at 10.6 billion in revenue last year. So there's a climbing that's taking place with the WNBA. And when you look at advertisers and sponsors, when you look at the specter of a new television deal scheduled to come down the pike, and the windfall that could create for WNBA players, guess what you do under those circumstances? You protect the golden goose.
I 100% agree with him that you don't get in the way of your ticket. You don't get in the way of your meal ticket, because that's literally what they're doing. If she's bringing more eyes to the WNBA, she's bringing more viewership, more money. Now these girls can do charter flights because of Caitlin Clark, because there's more revenue coming in. You're gonna hurt her, or you're gonna make her feel so bad or ostracize her to the point where she wants to leave the league, and then nobody wants to watch it and nobody wins? You want people to get interested into the sport, but the person that's bringing the interest to the sport, you don't want them in the sport. You want them hurt. Because at this rate, what's going to happen is Caitlin Clark's probably going to get injured, or they're going to injure her, something bad is going to happen, and then everybody's going to lose interest, and then nothing's going to change. The women will go back to complaining about not making the same amount of money that the NBA makes, but they ruined one of the chances for them to make more money. But that's all I have for today, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and follow me on social media. The links are always in the description down below, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.